Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official podcast of the Marriott Student Review, a podcast for students by students, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Marriott Student Review. My name is Hunter Hawkins, one of your hosts.
And my name is Jason Higbee.
And today we are with Dean Madrian from the Marriott School of Business at Brigham Young University, Provo. Dean Madrian, it's so good to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, perfect. Well, the first thing we wanted to talk about a little bit was that you've been on the podcast before, so you're a little familiar with it, but it's been, a while for our listeners. So we wanted to get just a super quick intro of who you are, how you got here today, and what are some of the things you enjoy doing?
Sure. So I grew up on this campus. My dad was a professor of sociology. I spent a lot of time playing hide and seek and raiding his change drawer to go to the candy machines as a child. And then I graduated with a degree in economics and went back to MIT to get a PhD. Graduated with a PhD in economics, and then my first job was on the faculty in the economics department at Harvard University. I was there for 2 years. Then I left and went to the University of Chicago Graduate School of Business, where I was on the faculty for 8 years. And then I moved to the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. I was there for 3 years, and then I moved back to Boston to the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and I was there for 13 years, quite 13 years, when I received an offer to come here to Brigham Young University and to take over as the Dean of the Marriott School of Business. So I started that job in January of 2019. So I'm finishing up 5 years as the Dean here at BYU, and I feel like I've led a charmed life professionally and love where I am now.
Definitely. That's a very extensive resume. Yeah.
Question, I did not know you were an economics major. Currently at BYU, economics is not part of the business school. I was just a little curious if that's been part of your plan to maybe try and bring it over.
That is a great question. My first year here, we put together a committee to explore the feasibility and the desirability of bringing the economics department into the business school. If you look at economics teaching across the country, economics departments are kind of split evenly between business schools and between other parts of the university and arts and sciences or a social sciences college, which is where the economics department is here at BYU. So clearly there's not a best practice because there are equally valid and viable models for where to put the economics department. And after several months of study and conversations and committee meetings, the decision agreed to by everyone was that it was probably best to just leave the economics department in the College of Family, Home, and Social Sciences, but we all learned a lot through the process.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is super cool. I'm glad it's cool to hear that, you jumped straight in. Because like you said, you started doing that right at the beginning of your time here. You just put your foot right in the water and started going, right? It's awesome. Another question we had for you is, you've spent, a good amount of time here at the business school. How long did you say it was you've been here so far?
5 years.
5 years, wow. And I would like to hear just some of the other amazing things that you've done for the Marriott School. Like you said, you talked about the economics, but what are some other things that you've done for the business school?
Yeah, so a handful of things that I'm particularly proud of is the rollout of our new vision, mission, and values. That happened in August of 2021, and that was the result of a year-long process. And now we're into 2 years of trying to really embed that into what we do and make it a part of the fabric of what it means to study and to work at the Marriott School of Business at BYU. A second thing that we've done is expand the size of our undergraduate programs. So this past summer, we admitted 37% more students than we were admitting to our undergraduate programs in 2019. So that's a really large growth rate over a 4-year period, and it's wonderful to know that we're allowing more students who want to study business that opportunity. But at the same time, growth, when it happens that rapidly, also creates some challenges. And in addition to increasing the number of students who are majoring in business, we've also rolled out a new information systems minor, a new healthcare leadership minor, a new entrepreneurship minor, and a global and community impact minor. So we're also providing more ways for students who are majoring in other things to get a minor from the business school. So we're teaching a lot more students. We've had to hire more faculty. We've had to build more offices. It's getting kind of crowded in the Tanner building, but it's great to have all the energy of the students in the building. And then I think that the third thing that is, I think, a little bit more difficult to measure, but that I get a lot of feedback on and I'm really delighted about, is I think we've had a lot of success in changing the culture and the perception of what it's like to be in the Tanner building. Mm-hmm. When I first got here, we did a survey of students from across campus to get a sense of how they perceived the Tanner building and the Marriott School. And the resounding theme that we got back was that students felt like the Tanner building and the business school were intimidating because it's this big granite building, across the street, not in the center of campus, and people in that building are seen wearing suits. And I thought, well, I don't want people to be afraid of studying business. Yeah. I'm the dean of the business school. I want them to be here. I don't want them to be afraid of being here. What can we do to change that? So we've been really intentional about trying to make the Tanner building a fun and welcoming place for students. And we, for Halloween, we had all of the deans and the dean's office staff and some other faculty and staff members as well dress up as Harry Potter characters. And fun. We decorated the building, and I was Dolores Umbridge, which was a lot of fun. We had a little candy trolley decorated like the trolley from the Hogwarts Express, and cute little candy jars with fun names for the candy. And then we also had just normal candy, and the students could get the normal candy, just freely available. But to get the candy cart, you had to stand in line, and we would have, 20 or 30 students at a time standing in line to get candy from the fun little Harry Potter candy cart. After Thanksgiving, we're going to have 2 weeks of what we call festive finals, and every day we'll do something to celebrate the Christmas season. It's the end of the semester. Everyone's stressed out, studying for finals. The days are getting shorter, and it's colder, and I think it's easy to just feel stressed out and burdened. You're trying to finish school. The holidays are coming up. So we're just trying to lighten the atmosphere. So every day we have fun things planned, like handing out hot chocolate in the atrium, or having little tables where students can frost sugar cookies, and having musical groups come in and perform Christmas carols in the atrium, which sounds really great because it's got wonderful echoey acoustics.
Definitely.
Showing up at a classroom unannounced and delivering pizza, just fun things like that. And I knew we were successful when I got an email from a student about a year ago, and she walked into the building with one of her roommates who was studying somewhere else across campus, so wasn't a regular in the Tanner building. And the roommate said, "The Tanner building feels like the happiest place on campus." And I thought, you know what? I am right. We are right up there with Disneyland.
Nice.
I'm gonna take it. I think we've succeeded. Not that there isn't further work we can do, but I think we've made the business school feel like a place where we value our students and they want to be there and they want to come, even though the courses are challenging. I don't know. You're a student in the Tanner building. Am I overstating things?
I started in the business school during COVID, and I can definitely tell a difference from when I started during COVID, when it was all super gloomy, to, all the events going on in the last 2 years, where, we've had more opportunities to be around other students and be on campus outside of class, and like the Hogwarts thing, I definitely saw all that. That was a blast. And seeing the student government committees and the clubs, present even just in the Tanner building, and try and recruit people to come be part of their clubs. It's been enlightening, honestly, to see everyone trying to go the extra mile.
And those 3 points that you brought up were very substantial things. They weren't just small little changes like, oh, it needs to be cleaner. It's like, no, those were real things you had to do a lot for. I just want to say, on behalf of all of the students who are in the Marriott School, thank you for expanding the enrollment, because I know it's very stressful for a lot of people applying to their programs. And it's amazing that we have the resources and the opportunity to have more people study business, as well as study more diverse things, like you said, the minor in information systems. And I'm grateful for that, because that's what I'm doing right now, which is really amazing. And same with Jason, I really enjoy the atmosphere that you've brought to the Marriott School, because I felt the same thing. I started around the same time you did, and it was super intimidating coming as a freshman, taking these intro classes and
intro classes that didn't feel like intro classes.
Definitely, but set the tone for the other classes,
yes.
which was really good. So those two are amazing things. And then, I don't know if you know this, but what we've started to implement this semester for our podcast is talking about all of the Marriott School's mission and values. And so we're going to highlight those because, like you said, you were one of the ones that implemented these, so we would love to get your opinion on a lot of these. So as you know, the vision of the Marriott School is we inspire to transform the world through Christ-like leadership. How have you implemented this in your work and life, and what are the fruits of it?
That is a great question. I love our vision. We aspire to transform the world through Christ-like leadership. That is a bold and audacious vision, and definitely something to aspire to, because we haven't done it yet. But it's something that it's easy to get people behind. But if you've got a vision like that and you're the leader of the business school, leadership starts at the top. So I feel not a small amount of pressure that I need to be a Christ-like leader in the way I lead the business school. And that means I've spent a lot of time thinking and studying and praying about what that means and how can I become a Christ-like leader. And I am not there yet. I still have a lot of things to work on, but it's been a wonderful personal journey to try and develop those skills in myself. One of the things that I did during COVID, in fall of 2020, I think as you both know, a significant fraction of classes were taught online. We brought students back to campus, but because of social distancing, we still had to teach a lot of our classes online. And one of the faculty in the business school, Kim Clark, who's a former dean of the Harvard Business School, former president of BYU Idaho, former General Authority 70, and commissioner of the church educational system, he's now on the faculty at BYU Marriott, and he teaches a class called The Gospel of Jesus Christ, Becoming a Disciple Leader. And as a dean, I am way too busy to take classes. But because we were in COVID and he was teaching that class online, he recorded every single class on Zoom so that the students who had COVID and were too sick to participate in class, they could watch the recording. And so I knew he was recording class, and I said, well, hey, if you're recording class, could you make that available to me? And so every week he would send me the links, and I would listen to the lectures, and then we had multiple follow-up conversations over the course of the semester. And that was one of the most transformational learning experiences that I've had, because I took it seriously. I didn't just listen to the lectures. I did all of the readings and the homework. I listened to class. I wrote down my questions, and as I mentioned, had these follow-up conversations. I really took advantage of that as an opportunity to learn and grow personally, and better understand what does it mean to be a Christ-like leader, and then to figure out what are the things that I need to do differently to be more like that. And I'm still working on that, but that was a really pivotal experience in my own journey towards becoming a Christ-like leader.
Well, and something I love about the vision is it's using the word transform versus change. Because if you say change the world versus transform, I feel like transform has like a molding, grinding, development process that change might not have. Like, oh, I change what I eat for breakfast every day. You didn't really do much besides go to the pantry and get something different. Versus transform, it's like I had to, really create and adapt and fix and become more than what I was. And I really like that. That's the word that was chosen, because we start as one thing and we leave BYU Marriott as something we weren't before. And we have the resources there to help us get there. So my question to follow up with that to you is, as students that are listening to this podcast, what is something they can look for in their journey at BYU Marriott that can help them see the transformation that's been taking place? Whether I'm a senior right now, whether they're a sophomore, or whatever their part of the path they're at in their life, how can they see that transformation?
Yeah, great question. I think there are two important parts to that. So before you can see the transformation has to happen. And I don't think that we're transformed against our will. So I think transformation is an act of agency. And so if you want to have a transformational experience, you need to be willing and open to having that experience and engaging in a way to make that happen. So I think the first piece is having a desire and then putting in the effort. And I think part of that effort gets at the heart of your question. How can you recognize the transformation that's happened? What has been really valuable for me is to write things down. So I was actually not a big journal writer before coming to BYU, but when I started taking this class, I found myself, I had so many things to think about, and I just started writing things down. And so every week I write down some reflections and things that I've learned from the past week, and challenges that I'm facing, and what I'm doing in the process of trying to face and overcome those challenges. And then at the end of the year, I collect all of those and I go back through them and I look for the themes. And that's when I see the transformation that's happening to me. Because I can go back and see, oh my word, this is what I wrote in January. And if I were in that same position now, I would feel so much more comfortable with that. Or I think about that totally differently. Or here's something I understand today that I didn't understand then. So I do that at the end of every year. But then when things come up, I'll also go back and look even further back. I'll remember, oh yeah, this thing happened, or I read something and I know I wrote something about it, but I can't remember what I wrote, and I'll go back and look at it. And it's in that process of both reflecting and writing, but then also going back and remembering what happened, that I recognize the change that's happened to me. So that's the advice I would give to you as students, is to make time, and that's really important. You'll always have things that take up your time, so I think you have to be intentional about making the time to allow yourself to reflect, because that's when you start to see the growth that has happened, the transformation in you that has happened.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, both really good comments there. Thanks, Jason and Dean, for that. That was really great. Kind of going along with that question, the mission of the Marriott School is we develop leaders. What attributes do these leaders have? What do they look like? And how can we become them?
Yeah, so we're really trying to develop Christ-like leaders. So the mission says we develop leaders of faith, intellect, and character. But I think you have to take the mission in the context of the vision, which is to transform the world through Christ-like leadership. So we're trying to develop Christ-like leaders, and Christ-like leaders have faith, and our first value is faith in Christ. We're an educational institution, so the Christ-like leaders that we're turning out, we hope are going to be leaders of intellect. That is to say that they've learned something at the business school, and then leaders of character, and I would say leaders that have the character of Christ, so who have Christ-like attributes. They're humble, they act with integrity, they love and respect others, they have high standards. They're not self-centered. They're outward looking. They're seeking for truth. I think that's what character means in the context of Christ-like leadership. And I think those words intellect and character together are really interesting. The root of intellect is the same as the root of intelligence. And Elder Bednar talks about intelligence as the righteous application of knowledge. So you could think about that combination of intellect and character is taking the knowledge that you have and applying it for good, for righteous purposes in the world, using it to do what God wants you to do.
Yeah, I love that. I love how the mission and vision basically go together. Like you said, it's not just to develop leaders, but Christ-like leaders that are going to go out and make a change, and transform, not just change, right? The other question we always ask people is, the values of the Marriott School are faith in Christ, integrity in action, respect for all, and excellence. What do you think about these values, and does one of them stand out to you, and do you have an experience with that value that you would like to share?
What a wonderful question. So I love all four of the values, and I kind of view them like children. You love them all differently, and you can't really have a favorite. The one that's your favorite kind of depends on what day of the week it is. I think the value that I draw on personally the most is faith in Christ. So our faith gives us the capacity to envision a better future, the confidence to make that future happen, and the courage to act in the face of challenges. And I am trying to live that value every day. So I'm, part of my job as a leader is to figure out what we should be doing at the Marriott School. That's envisioning a better future. And sometimes that's trying to think really big, and sometimes it's just trying to solve a problem, but it's trying to envision a better future, having the confidence to make that future happen, and then the courage to act in the face of challenges. And it's that last piece, the courage to act in the face of challenges, that I find myself having to remind myself, this is what faith is. Faith is when things get hard, you don't give up, you don't curl up in the fetal position and hope that someone else is going to come solve the problem. Faith is turning to the Lord and then having the courage to go forward, even if it seems hard. So I would say that's a value that resonates the most with me. The little piece of verbiage in the values that I love the most is the end of our value of integrity and action, that acting with integrity, and then skipping a few words, focuses our ambitions on things of eternal consequence. I love that idea of focusing our ambitions on things of eternal consequence, the things that matter most. And I think President Nelson's most recent General Conference talk, he's had the little catchy phrase that's now been meme-ified to think celestial. That's what thinking celestial is. It's focusing on the things of eternal consequence. I hope he would be happy with that value.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And One thing we like to do with all of our guests is we ask them the same questions we just asked you to get their opinion on all of this. And at the end of the semester, we're going to have a podcast where we have all of the answers from all the questions. And one that has been, a big point for a lot of people has been the faith in Christ as well as the integrity in action. And there's been some really good personal stories of people talking about them being in these situations of integrity where they could have broken their integrity but kept it true. And it's been like a changing experience for them. So yes, I'm thankful for those values as well. Any other questions you have, Jason, before we hit our final question?
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about self-reflection and finding themes in your self-reflection, and then you talked as well about having courage through adversity. And I kind of just got this impression of like the importance of planning. My question is do we have like a 5-year plan or a 5-year vision? Those kind of things that you want to implement. Anything in the future for BYU Marriott?
Yeah, so we have a strategic plan. I have a copy of it here with me. And we have a strategic planning process that we go through every year. We spend more time on it over the summer when things are not quite as busy. We don't have as many students in the building, and we have a little bit more free time. And we will go through all of our objectives, and we'll assess what kind of progress have we made in the last year, and then what are we going to do going forward to make further progress. And then we also decide, well, do we need to tweak these a little bit? Like is there an objective that we've basically achieved so it's no longer relevant, so we can cross that off the list and come up with something else. One of the things that we tried to do when we were putting our strategic objectives together was to make sure that everyone who works at BYU Marriott could see themselves in our strategy, and so they felt personally connected in their job with what we're doing. So our first strategic objective is to foster Christ-like leadership. That's completely in line with our vision, mission, values. Our second strategic objective is to elevate the student experience. So we talked a little bit about that. That's only, making the Tanner Building a welcoming place is only one piece of what we're doing on that front. We've got a lot of other things as well. Our third strategic objective is to increase our reach by making the opportunity to study business more readily available to the students who want to do that. So we've already talked about that a little bit. Our fourth strategic objective is to enhance diversity, belonging, and respect. Our fifth strategic objective is to enable faculty excellence in teaching and learning. And our last strategic objective is to ensure our people thrive and college resources meet our needs. And we haven't changed those high-level objectives in the last couple of years. We feel pretty good about those. And every year we'll have a set of annual priorities for each of those objectives. And those are the things that might change from one year to the next. But I guess I think the point I would want listeners to take away from this is that we're systematic about this. Every year we go through a process where we're evaluating where we are with respect to this plan, and we present that to the university going up, and then at the same time we have our academic departments and our administrative support units are presenting their strategic objectives to us. So there's this, process that's happening at all levels of the university of planning and evaluation on an annual cycle, and that's pretty common in the business world.
First of all, Dean Madrian, thank you so much again for all your amazing and wonderful insights. They've been very, very good. The last question we have goes along with the theme of the title of our podcast. And it's the question we ask everyone. It is, how do you measure success?
I would really love to hear how all of your other guests are answering that question. I think success is not about the destination. Mm-hmm. It's about the attitude, and it's about how you approach the journey that you're on. President Oakes gave a talk at this last general conference, and he talked about we should not be about doing, we should be about becoming. Life is not about what we do. It's not about the job titles we get, or the size of the house we buy, or how many cars you have in your garage, or how many kids you have in your bedroom even. Or bedrooms. It's about who you have become. And I think becoming is something that you don't succeed at that in this lifetime, in some sense, right? So success is, I think, developing the attitudes and the habits of having these transformational experiences that help you become a better disciple of Jesus Christ. It's figuring out how to live a life of consecration. It's figuring out how to be happy with what you have and with your circumstances, whatever they may be. It's an attitude of becoming and of being transformed. And I don't think I don't think there's a moment in time where you say, I've got it, I've figured it out, I've succeeded. Because if you're thinking that way, you probably haven't. But I think it's the ability to pick yourself up when you make a mistake, and when bad things happen to you, or difficult things happen, challenges come your way. I think success is wanting to be better and never giving up on that.
I think that was a wonderful answer. I think we're starting to see a small trend here, Jason, of some of the answers there. So that was great. Perfect. Well, like I said, is there anything else you would like to add to our listeners?
Well, this has been super fun, and I want to thank you for your time and for the preparation you put into this. And I hope you'll invite me back in another few years. You'll be graduated, I hope.
Yeah, let's hope.
I hope you'll be long gone. Not because I wouldn't love to see you, but because I know there are better things in your future. But I hope that your successors will invite me back again in a few years.
Definitely. Perfect. Well, thank you so much again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you never miss an episode. Be a friend and tell a friend about measuring success right.
This podcast is a project of the Marriott Student Review at Brigham Young University. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Marriott Student Review, or online at marriottstudentreview.org.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect official policy or position of Brigham Young University or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.